manageable to manage lots of pairs. It can overcomplicate things, and something I've seen a little bit in the group is maybe people are struggling with having, you know, so many pairs to trade. So I'm going to be focusing primarily on the dollar. Last couple of weeks myself, I've been focusing on the dollar, and where I've kind of got to with it is, if the dollar's moving well, then really we can trade dollar pairs. They're the ones that are most likely to, you know, follow the strategy. They're ultimately what I built the strategy around. And when the dollar is consolidating and at reversal points, you know, I'm talking higher time frame reversal points, that's when we can be then looking at cross pairs for opportunities. But I've kind of, I'll show you from my pairs list, I've kind of split my dollar pairs from my cross pairs now. My cross pairs are in a completely separate list. There were times where it worked really, really well, and other times where it was, you know, even for me, a little bit overwhelming. So I think it's good to have access to the extra pairs when they're necessary, but when the dollar is moving well like it is currently, then, you know, I don't think we need to be in a rush to be trading, you know, 26 different pairs all at once. And one thing I've noticed is that for some of you less experienced guys, it's maybe a little bit overwhelming having that many pairs. So I'm going to just trim things down, focus on the dollar for you guys. That will give you some good direction. That will give you a good understanding of what we would expect next on the charts. And, you know, hopefully that will assist you guys in your learning process as well. And it gives us a bit of consistency and analysis and trend and momentum and that sort of stuff as well. All right. And before I get stuck in and started, does anyone have any questions? I know it's obviously been a little while since I've caught up with some of you. Does anyone have any questions at all that, you know, you want to go through? Anything that's kind of sticking out and you're not thinking, I don't get that, or I've been waiting to ask Chris about this, that and the other? No? 0 questions. So all of you are like doing 2%, 3% a week. You're absolutely smashing it. You're never confused about analysis. You're never looking at the charts going, oh, what do I do here? Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's see some really good results next week. Obviously, with these sessions, I will always open it up to the floor. So if you do think of any questions going forward, obviously I'm available in the chat as always. But, you know, always feel free to save these questions so we can go through them, you know, in an analysis format. So what I'm going to do with the dollar today, I'm just going to clear my charts, just completely clear my charts and kind of start from the top down. Now, I think one of the things I've noticed, especially whilst I've been away, because, you know, I have been at the charts less myself, and I've been paying, I wouldn't say closer attention, but I've been looking, I've had the time and the opportunity to really kind of understand what you guys are looking at, and possibly where areas where you guys are struggling. And I think one of the patterns that I have definitely noticed is that we are too focused on the lower time frames. I see this quite a lot in the analysis from you guys. You know, we are, I think, looking at the hourly. You know, that's definitely happening. We are absolutely looking at the 15-minute chart, and we are 100% looking at the lower time frames. And I think this is where sometimes people are getting stuck. You know, I've had messages being like, shit, what the fuck happened on the dollar? And it was like a 3-pip move on the dollar. And, you know, I reached out to that student and I was like, what do you mean, what move? They're like, oh, it was a massive move. It was like an NFP move. And I was like, what are you on about? It was like a 3-pip move. Like and it was just like a tiny little spike. And I think this is, it's really easy to get stuck on the lower time frames, because look, the lower time frames, you know, that's where we find our entries. But we've got to remember that every single trade that we take has to have a higher time frame driving force, i.e. we should be setting up our trades from the hourly. Unless you're an experienced, funded, consistently profitable trader, I personally would only be taking trades in line with hourly momentum. And ideally, we want that hourly momentum lining up with the daily momentum. And one of the things that I definitely have noticed is when kind of ignoring the weekly charts. And that's a really, really important chart to have a look at least once a week. Personally, I've taken down my table in the top right hand corner simply because I either wasn't updating it or I just wasn't looking at it, because I'm very good with my own analysis. So, you know, I will you know, spend time analyzing it, and I was just ignoring the table. But if you're not there with your analysis, having that table in the top right hand corner, so you can type in the weekly is bearish, and you can type in, you know, the daily is bearish, and all these little kind of what's what's the word I'm looking for? I suppose helping hands in your analysis to refine the process and make sure that you're not making mistakes and have that filter there so you're always looking at, I think is really, really good advice. So, definitely have that in the top right hand corner if you feel that that helps. Personally, I'm pretty in tune with my analysis, and I just found I wasn't updating it, so I have taken it off my charts because it was just adding a bit of clutter. But what you've got to be doing, guys, is you've got to be starting your analysis from the weekly. We can see that since the start of the year, since Trump got in, the dollar has been quite heavily bearish. Yes, there's an argument to say we're overextended. We're below this external. That doesn't mean that this is going to stop. And none of this price action that I'm looking at here indicates to me that we are slowing down or stopping at all. So until we start to get some really clear bullish momentum in this market, then I am going to be, ultimately selling this marketplace until it tells me not to sell it anymore. I obviously am conscious that we are below this level, okay? We have taken that external level. And so market theory tells us that we are most likely going to pull back at some point. But the pullback could have been this one. This could have been the pullback, and the market could just be so heavily bearish that now we've created this new bearish range on the daily. This is actually the range that we're looking at. This, therefore, is our new external level down here, which we have now broken and closed back within. We've taken out premium pricing, broken above EPA and equilibrium, and we've shifted bearish again. So there's nothing I would say in particular that indicates to me we're going to go long. And the beauty of having at least an idea of what's happening on the weekly chart is it moves so slowly that you've had this quite nice pullback. And if we go down to our lower time frame, we did have a good couple of weeks from the 1st of July all the way up to the 1st of August. We had a full month of pullback here. And then the market has, of course, as you can see, continued bearish all the way down here. We have a bullish range here, okay, which is I think a daily range. Okay, if we look at that there. So we have like maybe a mini internal shift. We have definitely, a first push there, which has taken out some liquidity within here. We've then had that second push. So we've had an internal shift. But as we know, internal shifts are never as strong as external shifts. And, we would need to see this high broken. Okay, this high needs to be broken to really clearly define this. Because at the moment, this is just a first break or a false break. Okay, we can get rid of that range for now. We can mark on this level. What does that level become, guys? Trap, yeah, mark on that level as a trap. Okay, and as you can see over the last couple of weeks, the market has continually pushed bearish towards that trap. So I say that's our first target ultimately, is getting into that trap. I definitely can see that happening. We've got some really nice bearish price action. Those of you who weren't on the call last night, what's significant about this move here?
ISC.
Yeah, exactly. So we've had an ISC, imbalance in, imbalance out, shows that this level has, a lot of liquidity sat above it, or at least the institutions have sold off. Anything else that you notice about this positioning of this sell-off? Why did price sell off specifically from this level?
Is it because it's in premium pricing?
Part of the reason, yeah. But specifically this level here, why did it sell off from here?
EPA.
Not necessarily, no, not EPA. Something even more basic than that. Look to the right.
Round number.
Yeah, there you go, look, 100 level. Really significant level there, look. Okay, really significant level there. Loads of selling pressure came in here. If you were a bank looking to put millions, billions of dollars into this market, you're going to want to sell off from a key psychological area, and that 100 level is what's given us that big sell-off. So you've got really nice continuation here. We're very clearly heading towards that trap. Whether we hold that trap and push bullish, I don't know. I would hazard a guess that once we get down to this trap, we'll probably have some form of consolidation, and this then could open up doors to us potentially looking at cross pairs during that time, or maybe shifting over to things like gold, and understanding that if the dollar is consolidating around here, then other assets that are maybe driven by dollar but not as heavily will have an opportunity to move in these moments. So that's just something to be aware of. Jumping down to our hourly time frames, we can see we have this last bearish leg from this high to this low. Okay, we can see that very, very clearly. This is the range that we're in. Okay, we brought back up, tagged that EPA level, and we started selling off there on Friday as well. Now, where we go from here is obviously a bit of a mystery. I'm not in a rush to trade this short necessarily, unless we get a pretty good position. I would hazard a guess we'll probably just get a bit of a meander all the way down, which, look, this is the 2-hour chart at the end of the day, so it could give us some opportunities here, but we definitely want to trade with a little bit of caution around this area because we are quite low now. We are approaching an area where we could see reversals from, so we want to just be a little bit cautious on this. It really depends on what happens over the next few days. Possibly we get a pullback. That would be quite nice if we get a nice pullback like that. Maybe take out that external level. That could give us some really lovely sell positions. Selling from here I think is a bit dumb at the moment. I don't think there's any reason to sell from here. We've taken buy side liquidity here. We've sold off. We've taken sell side liquidity. We've had a pullback and then a sell off. No liquidity's been taken since the 13th of August now, so we need to see some form of, personally what I'd like to see is at the start of the week is a key external liquidity point to be taken, and that potentially could give us some opportunities. We've obviously got daily levels in here. Okay, so you've got a daily level there. Obviously you've got a daily low down here as well. Okay, so we've got some good liquidity there that we could see trades from, and then we have that weekly high up there as well, so we can pop that there, weekly high. Any one of those levels I'll be happy to, and this is actually the weekly low, so we can mark that on as well. Okay, so we've got a couple of key significant levels that I'd love to be able to see swept before we take a trade. One of these levels has to be taken for me before I could comfortably take a trade. My overall momentum is bearish, of course, but we need to see how this week opens. It could be that we take out that low and then we push bullish for the rest of the week. So we just, we've got to be prepared for any eventuality. It's really, really important, guys, that you do this process yourself on a Sunday or a Monday morning. You go in and you spend some time. I've been talking about this now for about 10 minutes, but you spend some time really kind of over analyzing the weekly, the daily, the hourly. You don't need to go any lower when you're doing your daily analysis. Okay, the only time you need to look at the 15-minute is when the chart is in a good location to consider a trade. For example, let's say I come into the morning, Tuesday morning, and price is here and it's just swept that daily level. Now I'd be looking at the 15-minute time frame. Now I'd be seriously considering an entry, and therefore I'd be waiting for a shift on the 15-minute time frame. I'd be waiting for price to give me some form of setup like this. Okay, that's when I can start looking for trades potentially to get myself into a nice position short. But until one of these liquidity points is in range and price is nearing it, personally I don't go any lower than the hourly chart. When I'm doing my daily analysis, I'll stick to it unless we are in a location where we could seriously consider a trade from. All right, so it's a bit up in the air at the moment. Euro USD does look a little bit better, as you can see. Got really nice bullish momentum. It's really clean as well. We're obviously heading towards that trap, exactly the same. No, Anton, I can't go through the indices model yet. It's not ready yet. We're still going through testing at the moment, and I don't want to send you guys off on a tangent without fully understanding it. So I think probably 3 to 6 months we'll have it ready, and I'll roll it out to the team and stuff like that. But we've still got a lot of work to do on it yet, because it is something that to me and Sam is brand new. We've had some very good results and not so great results as well. So yeah, we're not rolling out just yet. I know I'm pretty bad at rolling things out early because I get a bit excited about them, but we'll roll it out when it is ready, and not any sooner, because it doesn't operate on the same strategy that you currently know. It's very, very similar, but the entry model is completely different, and it's going to take a bit of time to get that ready to a point where we're really, really happy with it. All right. But it will be coming. Okay, it's not too far off. All right. Okay, cool. So that's kind of my view on dollar for the next week or so. Any questions at all on any of that? Does that all make sense? All good? Cool. All right. So in other news, I've just launched this week the new mentorship site. I'm just going to show it you in mobile format. So we've done because we are looking to grow the business in a way where it's not just specifically Forex trading, and we're looking bringing in indices models and things like that. As you know, I'm always trying to improve and upgrade where I can. We've done a little bit of a rebrand. You might have seen on the Instagram. We've changed the name, I suppose, from Strong Money Forex to SMF Trading, which I think is has a nice little ring to it as well. This has been launched, so you might see some adverts popping up. Mark Wilco's got a lovely little feature in it. Callum's there as well, and we are obviously actively recruiting new members at the moment. We have had a few people leave. A couple of people have got to the point where they've maybe been a year in and want to kind of go it alone, which I fully respect. And as I do, I will open the doors when there are spaces available. So there are 3 coaching packages that are available. The elite team here. We've got the one-to-one coaching package, and then obviously the boot camp, the last boot camp of this year, which will be starting on the 1st of October. What I'd like to do to offer you guys, I know a lot of you have kind of referred people across to me recently. So what I'm going to do for this next batch, this next induction, is if you do know of anyone who might be interested in joining us, anybody who is looking into trading or interested in what you're doing and wants to kind of dip their toe in the water, if you do refer anyone across to us and they take out one of the mentorship options, then every single person that you refer across will earn you a 10k account. So a top 1 trader account, a 10k account on us that you can use then to test your strategy out, hopefully make some money on and things like that. I'll put a little post out obviously in the Discord so you guys can go in and see it. As you'll see, I haven't really formatted this. All my advertising's done on Instagram through mobile, so it's not really formatted as well for desktop. So if you do go on it, all I'd say is just go on it on your mobile because it looks a lot better. But yeah, so anyone you refer across to us will earn you a 10k account, courtesy of Top 1 Trader. So
yeah, I did have a couple for you, Chris, but you fucking screwed yourself over, mate.
Why?
Because you bloody put a post out about the baker, didn't you? And then fucking 3 of my mates have gone with baker now.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll be over here eventually.
Yeah.
I think his mentorship's like £40 a month though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's just starting off, isn't he? So
yeah, he's just starting off. He's a good guy, to be fair. So yeah, that's available now, guys. If you do think of anyone, or if anyone that you're interested, then get them in contact with me, and there'll be a 10k account coming your way as a big thank you. Wilco, Callum, I've not forgotten you guys as well. As you know, I've got a little present for you guys for your referrals, but I'll organise you both a 10k account when you're ready for it as well. So just reach out to me. And if anyone has referred anyone across to me previously as well, they'd like to take out one of those accounts to test their skills, again, just pop me a message and I'll sort you out with one. It's not a problem at all. All right. So without further ado, let's go through our July challenge. So we had some, as always with these challenges, often people start off really, really strong and then they wane a little bit kind of halfway through. And I think what this really does is it kind of sets the men apart from the boys. Probably a terrible analogy there. It probably sounds a bit more rude than it is, but it really shows when people are able to be consistent or not. I know a couple of you had holidays and things like that. I think KB, potentially you were one where you were fantastically consistent, and I think you had a holiday at the end of July from what I understand. But up until that point did really, really well. But generally on these things, and I'll show you the April challenge you may have looked, they start off really, really strong and then people just kind of like teeter off towards the end. What I loved about this challenge is the commitment from some of you. Winners aside, there's people in here that, had some really, really fantastic results. Consistency-wise, Nath, Matt, I know you're not in the top 3, but ultimately you had some real consistency. And I think where you were maybe not screwed over at all, but where maybe people took over you is just because they had some winning trades alongside it. I think what I love to see is that the consistency here and I'm just picking on Nathan and Matt. Who else? Smithers also very, very consistent. Smithers very, very nearly missed out on a place, you can see here, with 52 points in total. The consistency in these processes, I think is really quite amazing. So, Nathan, I'm going to start with yourself. Obviously, you ended up with 55 points in the end. So why are you not in third place? That's an interesting one.
Probably because the losses I had, and the only days
because
I
Carlo's
did,
only got 54 points, and that doesn't make sense.
so the only days I did miss
I
on
think
that challenge was computer
it's
broke.
calculating the win and losses, isn't it, within that top score? Which I know you did say at the beginning you weren't gonna
okay.
input. Yeah.
Hang
So
on.
the scores are based off the percentage win as well, aren't they?
E69. Where's my E69? Down here. Be down here. Right, let's have a look at what's happened here. Okay, so I've got to try and remember. Okay, fine. So yeah, Nath. So Nath, you had 55 points from here, and then minus 5.8 for your results. Yeah, that makes sense then. Whereas Carlo had 40 points and he had plus 13.6. So he just pipped you to the post, didn't he? Very, very close though, mate. Very, very close, and really, really well done. What would you say your biggest wins were from this, following this July challenge? Because like I said, you were incredibly consistent with your results. What would you say your biggest wins were from doing this?
I think probably waiting for positions to form rather than trying to force it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the days where, like, I obviously took a loss or I didn't trade because I was in Ireland. So it was like I had the morning to trade and that was it.
Yeah.
So it basically taught me that if I'm going to be busy, don't bother.
Yeah, fair. If you can't follow that daily process and be at the charts like you normally would, and it's one of the things that I'm guilty of myself as well. There was definitely days over the last couple of weeks where, I had really patchy internet, so a lot of the time I couldn't use my laptop, so I was having to do my analysis from my phone, and it did impact my results. I had a couple of good weeks, to be fair, but there's definitely situations where I maybe made decisions that I wouldn't have made had I had my laptop available, and had I not been fucking have the the sun in my eyes and trying to squint at my fucking phone screen sat by a swimming pool. So I think it's a really, really good acknowledgement. If you are having a day out of your normal routine, having a day off the charts, at the end of the day, there's always going to be setups. There's always going to be the next setup. Taking one day off, you might be unfortunate and miss an amazing move, but you will find another move at some point in the future anyway. It's not the end of the world missing a couple of trades here or there. Final reflection. So this challenge definitely reminds me for the way we want to be. Yeah, okay, cool. Definitely going to put in a lot more late nights, early mornings, studying, reflecting. Results could have been a lot worse, but I can safely say I didn't overtrade. Results were purely from your own mistakes, some unfortunate positions. Personally, don't think I did too bad considering I haven't completed my trading plan yet. Cool. I'll be much stronger in a better position for the next one. Hopefully my computer won't break so I can get all of the ticks. Yeah. Have you got that sorted now? Is your computer fixed?
Yeah.
Nice.
The first one was corruption. That's why I think I missed 4 ticks on that.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, the Wi-Fi card just decided to shit itself.
Nice. Happy days. Well, look, I think you've done really, really well on that challenge. And what I've noticed about Nath as well, and I know some of you won't be able to see this because our chats are separate now, but Nath is like posting almost every single day. He's posting charts, morning analysis, post analysis, end of day markups, and it gives great opportunity for me to kind of see what Nathan's up to. Almost every day we speak, don't we, Nath? Because you'll post something, I'll come back to him with some feedback or what I think's right, what I think's wrong, and those little micro lessons, those 1% tweaks are the key difference. So if you're one of those people that is currently sat on the sidelines not knowing what to say, just have a go. You will definitely have questions. It amazes me on these sessions. I ask if anyone's got questions. Nobody ever has. You definitely do. You all have questions. You're either not confident asking them or you haven't prepared for these meetings. That's fine. That's cool. We're all busy. But you have an opportunity throughout the week to contact me whenever you need. That's what I'm here for. I've been doing this now 10 years. this is my livelihood. So the likelihood is that I can help you in some way if you just ask the question. So make sure you remember that, guys. The people that post the most are the people that have the quickest progression in this group. So keep up, Nath. And those of you who maybe are yet to post and things like that, then make sure you get stuck into that from this week onwards. Okay, cool. So Carlo's not here. Carlo had a pretty fantastic month from what I can see. So this is Carlo, row 27. So he wasn't consistent with his daily routines, but to be fair, he had a pretty good result. He did about 13.4. I'm interested to see why there's no week 4 reflection. Possibly he was away because there's 3 full days missed. There's no final reflection. But I'll catch up with him on that and I'll see what went on there. But in terms of where he was going, great week. Feel like everything started to click. Revenge trading got to me. Decided to add an extra position to my losing trades. Was also down almost 1.2% and gained it back with a positive 0.7 for the week. Lesson learned, but I still feel great about the strategy. Starting to really grasp and understand the vision of what to look for. Great. 2 out of 3 wins. Not much movement for me. 1 trading day. Didn't trade due to news during trading window. So look, Carlo's had a good couple of weeks, by the looks of it, some positive weeks. Ended up with 3.4% for the month, which is a good result compared to lots of the other results that we've seen here. So well done to him, and hopefully that keeps up. Smithers, very, very consistent. He missed a little bit in the middle, as you can see here. In terms of his final reflections, because again, I don't think he's on the call, sadly. In terms of final reflections, decent to see the results. I think the biggest thing he's learned from this is to have patience. And don't rush into trades. If he's not 100% sure about a trade, don't take it. It's a great lesson to learn. If you're not 100% about a trade, don't take it. I always say that. If you're not quite sure if you should be in the position, then you shouldn't be in the position. Because the trades that you should be in, you'll always know that you should be in them, right? You always know the good trades from the average trades and definitely the bad trades. The ones that are good are the ones that are screaming out at you, that you're sitting there thinking, fuck, how do I get into this trade? Where's my MSU, right? Those are the trades that we want to be chasing down. If you're ever not sure about a trade, my advice is always just wait for the next push. So if you sat at a point where you could be entering, just wait for that next push, because usually that next push is, the one that's going to take you there. Oh, you are? Hello, Ben.
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing, man? Good month for you?
But yeah, it was decent. I caught a lovely, I think it was 3.4R
Yeah.
on EU, and that's what mainly did
Nice.
it for me.
Nice. Was that week 3, by any chance?
Yeah, that was the one, yeah.
Yeah, nice, man, nice. And, that goes back to what I said at the start of the call, focusing on the dollar and, EU comes alongside that, obviously, when the dollar's moving well, is a great strategy. I built the strategy just trading EU. I quit my job just trading EU. Everything I've done, apart from the last kind of 6 to 12 months, I've done primarily on EU. And whilst it's good having other opportunities and other pairs that we can look at, for me, one thing I've noticed is that my up and down weeks were often when I was trying to trade too many pairs. I'd have some great weeks doing it, and some weeks where, if I just focused on 1 or 2 pairs, it could really, really help. So it's good to have those opportunities there. I'm not saying don't look at other pairs because they're there for that reason. They're always going to help you in analysis, but definitely focusing on the dollar. I've seen with quite a few people now it has a really positive result. So well done. Second place for you, Ben. Well done, dude. All right. So you've got a 10K account. And a 3 months access to the signals as well. So well done. All right. So reach out to me, pop me a message, and I'll get you set up with all of that. All right. Last but not least. Chef extraordinaire, Wilco Wilkinson. So let's go through each of his weeks one by one, because what I liked about Wilco, and I know that obviously Smithers, I forget you call yourself Smithers. Smithers, very, very consistent, as we can see. Carlo, I think there could have been a little bit more consistency there. If it wasn't for potentially having a good result that month, then possibly somebody else might have taken that 3rd place, but that is okay. What I liked about what you did, Wilco, is how detailed you were with your analysis. So week 1 reflection, still very new to it. So Wilco had literally just started the daily routines, and the challenge has opened his eyes to put the puzzle together through following the daily routine. Still a long way to go, but feel a lot more confident when looking at the charts than I did last week. Feeling excited, feel the end of day and end of week markups are key. Next focus is on ranges, and as I do question them, but I guess that's a good thing. Just kind of talking and thinking out loud like this, putting your thoughts and feelings into words, you'll be amazed at how much of a power that has over what you work towards subconsciously. Wilco, by writing these things down, will have automatically worked on these things going forward. Week 2, good week overall. Reflection for me is I trade better on lower equity account, risking more percent than doing a large account, so a smaller account size. This I need to work on somehow. We discussed that. I remember at the time we discussed that. Just takes a bit of time. Markets were tough, but you still came out with 6%. So the fact that you say markets are tough and you've done 6% is pretty impressive. In a tougher week, apparently, you've made more money than you did in an easier week. So that's definitely interesting there. Still a lot to work on. Do need to believe in myself a lot more. So probably second guessing trades and things like that. Were you doubting trades that played out? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because clearly my loss this week was clearly not a great trade due to minimal risk on that trade. But again, ended up with 2.53%. Then final week, end of week reflection, overall very happy. The progress opened my eyes more than I thought I would. Final week results 3.54. Need to trust the process. Yeah, the strategy. We discussed this yesterday. The strategy keeps you safe. We discussed this in detail yesterday with the bootcamp guys. The strategy keeps you safe. If you're ever wondering what to do, look at where the market is. Look at where the location is. Are we in bullish pricing? Are we in premium pricing? Are we in discount pricing? Are we above the external liquidity of a range and therefore we're likely to pull back into internal liquidity? Trust the theory, okay? The theory will look after you. Need to work on your risk and be comfortable with losses. Yeah, that's all part of the process. That's not something you can force or something you can switch on or off, Wilco. That's just something that comes with time. If the setup is there and it fails, it's one of them things, and don't force a trade. A few losses have been, looking back at forced trades, I've made fit what I expected, not what the market was showing. I think that's a brilliant reflection. And this is something that, because you've been forced, so to speak, to do this and reflect each week, something you should be taking into your following weeks. Question for you all. How many of you are completing a journal? How many of you are completing a trade journal, filling out trades and marking up your trades every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? No? No?
Yeah.
I appreciate some of the bootcamp guys. We are going to be covering that off this week, so I'll let you guys off. But for the rest of you, okay, who are more experienced, you've got a trading plan and things like that, you should be completing a journal. And this acknowledgement is something that you should be putting in that journal as well. You should be marking up what your reflection is for the week. What have you learned for the week? What are you going to take into next week? These weekly reflections, look at the results. Week 1, 0.6. Week 2, fantastic week, 6%. Week 3, 2.5. Week 4, 3.5. Total results for Wilco of 11.52%. Now, on any size account, 11.52% is a serious, serious gain. It's more than I made in July. Let's just put it that way. All right? That's serious, mate. Okay? And that's not just fluke. Okay? That's because you've trusted the strategy more often than not, and the strategy has looked after you. Okay? You followed the strategy, you followed your rules, and you've made money out of it. So,
reflecting back on last week, and obviously I know we covered a bit of it yesterday. Obviously, I took myself off multi-pair and just concentrated on gold because, obviously doing the end of the day and end of week, I found I was missing entries on gold. And for some reason, I fucking love gold. I wish I didn't. But then obviously this week, and it goes back to the conversation you were saying before, if the trade don't fit, just don't take it.
yeah.
That's what I was doing. I was looking at it, I was like, it doesn't fit my style, so I'm just not going to do it. But then obviously it becomes to the end of the week and you're like, fucking hell, I just want to fucking trade something.
Yeah.
But looking back, it didn't fit. I didn't take them. Overall, I should be happy with that.
Yeah. I think, this is where we've got to find, I think every trade is different and we've got to find a sweet spot. Like, I can trade 22 pairs and I can trade relatively profitably with it, but then there are weeks where that can be overwhelming. And I think, and as I've spoken to you bootcamp guys, and everyone who's been through any kind of program with me, you know that when I start you off trading, I always make sure you pick 2 to 3 pairs. That's it, to start off with, 2 to 3 pairs. The reason why we're looking at more pairs at the moment is because you will naturally be gravitating towards particular pairs, whether that's personal preference, whether that's things that you've learned or influence that you've had from previous programs or whatever it may be. You will have pairs that you like, okay? Like Wilco likes gold. Some people love GBPJPY, for example. I personally love Euro USD. So the reason why I get you guys in the early days to have a look at more pairs is because when we come to writing the trading plan, you will then be picking 2 or 3 pairs that you will be trading, and those will be the pairs that you will be focusing on. I don't expect you guys to come out of any program or boot camp and trade 22 pairs. It's not something that is doable or possible for most people. But there is a sweet spot to be found, because it's a double-edged sword. Because Wilkie, you are right, there will be times where your 2 or 3 pairs just aren't setting up, especially if you've only got dollar pairs, for example. And if your 2 or 3 pairs aren't setting up, then you have to be mentally strong. You have to have really good willpower to ensure that you're not forcing trades when average trades are all the market is presenting you with. So it is a double-edged sword, okay? You've got to be really, really firm on your rules, really, really firm on your strategy, and only that way will trading less pairs work. One of the reasons I personally started bringing in more pairs is because I found there was a quiet time back in, I can't remember what it was, maybe February, March time, where the dollar wasn't moving very, very well. And I found myself with EU forcing positions that weren't there. So I was like, right, let's find some more opportunities. And so I think there's definitely a sweet spot to be found. Personally now, I've got about 5 or 6 pairs that I look at every single day. And then the cross pairs I look at when those other opportunities don't show themselves. So I think you've got to find that balance. And that balance is a very, very personal thing. And it's not really something I can tell you. But certainly in the early days, I will always advise you guys to pick 2 or 3 pairs to be focusing on, and just, understand you might not be trading every day. You might have some weeks where you don't take a single trade, but that is you following your rules and trading in the right way. So the big round of applause to Welco. Top prize for you, mate. Well done. Good work. Keep up the good work. Again, pop me a message and I'll get you sorted with your prizes and stuff, all right?
Sweet man, yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, look, I've got to jump off now. I've got another call to jump onto. Any questions at all for me at all? At all?
Is May Bootcamp going back to normal this week?
Yes.
Wednesday,
So,
Friday?
well, back to normal based upon what we discussed before I went away, which is we're doing a longer Monday and a longer Wednesday session, remember?
Right, okay.
We cancelled the Friday session because we did a couple in a row. I don't know if you remember, Robbie. People just weren't turning up, or there was only like 3 or 4 of you on it. It doesn't make sense if people can't make it to do the session. So what we agreed is we'll do an hour-long session on a Monday and an hour-long session on a Wednesday instead.
Yep.
Time
Right.
for one on Monday, do you know?
7, and I think it's 8 o'clock on Wednesday. Cool. We've obviously got the SMF Weekly Rundown as well tomorrow. What I'm going to be doing in that session is just going over some trades of last week and do some trade breakdowns and analysis from last week. So hopefully see you guys there from 6 o'clock, I believe. All right? Cool. All right, lads. Lovely to see you all. Take it easy. Well done to the winners.
Well done, Wilco.
All right.
Cheers, mate.
Catch up with you all soon.
Take it easy.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers, Chris.